Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I'm Julie Chabdi, the Associate Director of the Health and Wellbeing Program at the Workwell Center, and your host for today. Welcome to EatWell Bites, sponsored by the USC Healthy Campus EatWell Subcommittee. Today's topic is health from the inside out, gut microbiome, prebiotics, and probiotics. Throughout today's session, you're welcome to use the chat or the Q&A to ask questions, make comments, and at the end, we'll open it up to Q&A along with announcements and asking you to fill an evaluation survey along with a raffle. Make sure you're muted to minimize any background noise. I'd like to thank our EatWell co-leads, Professor Carrie Kreutzer with the USC Leonard Davis School of Gerontology and Keck School of Medicine, and Lindsay Pine, Dining Dietitian with USC Hospitality, as well as members of our EatWell subcommittee. We're very excited to continue EatWell Bites monthly, the first Thursday of every month, to bring you information, practical application, resources, and support you to improve health through nutrition and healthy eating habits. Before we begin, as always, I like to remind everyone to feel free to stand, stretch, move in any manner that feels best for you throughout this entire next 30 minutes. And now I'd like to introduce our presenter for today. It's my pleasure to introduce Michelle Katz, registered dietitian and certified health education specialist with the USC Student Health Center with Keck Medicine of USC. Michelle is also a member of the Healthy Campus Eat Well subcommittee, and I've had the pleasure to work with Michelle, and she's also presented some past Eat Well webinars that you can view on the Eat Well website if you want to look at the recording. So with that, welcome, Michelle, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for asking me to talk about this topic that is dear to my gut. um, and first, I want to say happy May 1st. Wow, I can't believe it's May 1st. It's almost the second to last day of this school year classes, and I'm really happy about it. So I hope you all are having a beautiful day. Next slide. All right. So we want to get to know you. So we're going to start a poll. And, if you could just answer some questions. There's no right answer. But it's an opportunity to get to know you, see what's going on. And, maybe things might change after this. Maybe not. Who knows? And we have 3 questions. The first question is, how often do you consume fermented foods? Such like yogurt and kimchi and sauerkraut and miso. Number 2, how often do you include fiber-rich foods in your diet? Fiber-rich foods come from plant-based sources, so fruits, vegetables, whole grains, brown rice, brown bread, starchy vegetables. Ooh, all right. And then the third question, how many servings of fruits and vegetables do you typically consume per day? And when they say you are what you eat, you are what you eat. Let me tell you, that is real. And we're going to talk more about why. Okay, we're done with the first question. Oh, we're at the third. Oh my God, amazing. You guys rock. Awesome. Okay, so let's see the results. I don't know how to see the results. How do I see the results?
We're sharing the results. I could see it for fruits and vegetables. There
Okay.
are 50. Ooh, now it's changing again.
Fermented foods. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so it's pretty even. I mean, once a week. Okay. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Love it. Okay. And then fiber-rich foods. Most meals. Love it. Love it. Okay. Wonderful. All right. And then great. Oh, good. Good. Now, honestly, I don't like to use words good or bad. Those are moral judgments, and I don't morally judge food or food behavior, but it's very beneficial for your body. And we're going to talk about why. Next slide. All right. So, our learning objective today. So, I am hoping that when you leave, you have learned what the gut microbiome is and why it is important. You can understand what dysbiosis is and how it relates to health. We've explored the gut microbiome in your diet. We can learn about prebiotics, probiotics, their benefits and sources, and also get some recommendations on how to maintain a healthy gut. Next slide, please. All right. So the gut microbiome. So the gut microbiome is a collection of bacteria, viruses, fungi living in your gastrointestinal tract. And the gastrointestinal tract starts from your mouth to your anus. And there's over 100 trillion microbial cells in the gut, the host, the gut in the human, the host. When I say host, I mean human, okay? And that's more bacteria than on your skin. So think about that for a second. Think about um, the surface area of your skin, and that's how many bacteria live in your gut, and your gut's inside your skin, inside your body, which always blows my mind. I find the body very fascinating. It's very critical in the host disease and health etiology. And it's dynamic and it changes in response to diet, exercise, food poisoning, medication, smoking, vaping, stress, anxiety, travel. And the microbiota, which is what they're called, the microbes, they contain an estimated over 150 times more human genome, like DNA, um, which is very critical to how disease manifests in our body. So this is a huge, very influential area, and it's very, we're constantly learning more and more and more about it. So it's really interesting and fascinating. Next slide, please. So what does your microbiome do? Well, it helps break down food and its components, so allows food to be digested and absorbed. It also protects your gut from pathogenic bacteria. So it protects the mucosal lining on the gut because it needs to have that mucus so things can sort of zip through and get their way through. And it also protects the barrier so that food doesn't get out of those areas. It doesn't get into the interstitial areas of the body. It stays where it's supposed to in the digestive tract. It helps to shape and regulate your immune system, once again, making sure that everything stays in the digestive system because of that strong barrier. It also produces bioactive molecules, which are short-chain fatty acids that are extremely important for overall health and well-being. And it synthesizes essential items, meaning that it takes components of our food and it makes them into vitamins that the body makes on its own. And the biggest thing is it really helps us maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis is very important for life. And what does homeostasis mean? Homeostasis means, for instance, we have these feedback loops, right? So like you're exercising and your oxygen needs are growing and your body knows to start providing more oxygen, right? It starts pumping the heart harder, faster. If I'm really hot, it's hot out and I'm sweating, the feedback loop in my system will tell me to start sweating. Well, it doesn't really tell me, it just does it, right? Amazing, right? So that homeostasis is really important because when we're not in homeostasis, that's when we have disease. For instance, if you have a temperature, right? That means that you are fighting an infection, so you're not healthy. So we want to be in homeostasis. Very important for our overall health. Next slide, please. So the gut microbiome is called the second brain. Why is it called the second brain? Well, that's because our brain and our gut talk to each other all day long. If you've ever been really nervous about something and you have to use the restroom, guess what? That's real. That's actually really happening, and that is physiological, okay? Because our gastrointestinal tract has its own nervous system. It has the enteric nervous system, and that helps move food throughout the digestive tract. And it's these cells that line the gastrointestinal tract. And the role is to promote digestion and absorption, releasing enzymes throughout and all kinds of things that help support digestion of food. And it communicates back and forth with our brain. So it's bidirectional, meaning that my gut health affects my mental health, and my mental health affects my gut health. So think about that for a second. You know, if I'm having a feeling and it's disruptive or uncomfortable, it can affect my digestive tract. And research is also telling us that it can affect your cognition, it can trigger mood changes based on your gut health. So, a huge influence on our gut health. And in some situations, this is not my area, but people will have GI issues and they may be prescribed an antidepressant, and that's because of the gut brain connection. So, really powerful stuff. So, as I said before, you are what you eat. Yeah, you are what you eat. Next slide, please. So, what is in our gut microbiome? Well, I said over 100,000 microbiota. Diversity is the key. We want more good than bad because we want to be in balance, because balance means homeostasis. Most of our bacteria is in our colon, which is the large intestine. And it just influences our health. It influences our immunity, uh, inflammation in our body, huge influence on all of this stuff. And it also is very important to create these metabolites, these short chain fatty acids, which help support an overall body health and our immunity. So really important stuff. Next slide. So I have talked about homeostasis. Remember, it's that balancing act that our body does. And when we're in gut homeostasis, it means that we have the good bacteria is winning the fight, right? It's fighting, it's battling. But for instance, maybe you get diarrhea, right? So what's diarrhea? Well, diarrhea can be something like there's something in my body that's foreign, I want it out, and my body gets it out through the diarrhea, gets it out through it. Dysbiosis is when there's some bacteria that's not really supposed to be there, or it's too much, or food poisoning is a big trigger. Or, you know, if you've ever gone to another country and you've had some street food and it doesn't go well for you, that's probably because it's not your environment. You don't live there. Your gut microbiota comes from here. We live here. We have food here. We eat food from the soil here. It can adjust, absolutely, but there is an adjustment period. I'll have students who change their diet and meet like, you know, they drastic diet change. And that can affect your gut bacteria because the bacteria is like, wait, what's going on? You know, and it has to adjust. And so there can be some real issues there. And dysbiosis is an alteration in the gut health. And it can be caused by diet, by genetics, by lifestyle, by stress, anxiety. And it's reduced diversity of bacteria in the gut, which can lead and is associated to obesity, diabetes, GI diseases, and it's implicated in many diseases. So it's not something we want to promote or encourage. Next slide, please. So what are possible negative effects of dysbiosis? Now, this isn't like tomorrow. This is long-term stuff, but it just shows you the influence that my gut health has. So if I'm having gut issues, I need to address them, you know, and oftentimes in my experience, I will see a lot of students with gut issues. And I'd say 85% of the time it comes from stress and anxiety and lack of sleep and poor diet, things that are in their power to control, which is wonderful. Because when they start implementing, you know, stress strategies, management strategies, and they start sleeping more and they start eating foods that support a healthy gut, they can improve their symptoms. And it really exemplifies how important, you know, it is to take care of your gut health. And, you know, the common symptoms are gas, bloating, diarrhea, and constipation. You know, you eat foods that don't work well with the bacteria doesn't like it, it ferments, it causes issues, and it can be very debilitating. Next slide. So what are symptoms of dysbiosis? Diarrhea. Sometimes people have diarrhea with constipation, lots of gas, unpleasant taste in your mouth. Yes, there are foods that cause gas issues, you know, and you can take, you can take Gas X or simethicone. But if it's a constant thing, if it smells really sour, like rotten eggs, you know, there's something going on. We want to address it. Belching. And it's not just like once in a while, you know, it's more like constant, it impedes on my life. It's disruptive, I've had students tell me because of their digestive issues, they're afraid to leave the house, which is very difficult. Pain or distension in the abdomen. So cramping, and then I go to the bathroom and then I feel better. Um, Decreased appetite. Oftentimes when people are having GI issues, they are very fearful of eating because they don't know what's going to cause their issues, which I totally get. Makes total sense to me. Um, and this might lead to malnutrition, or this might lead to weight loss, or a poor energy, poor concentration, poor focus. And one of the things that our job is as medical providers, dietitians at Student Health is to support students thriving. And we see students anywhere from 17 to 50 something. So it's the whole range. It's not just, undergraduates. And everybody's got stuff going on. And it's a very stressful time. And even more important to spend that time every single day doing the things that support a healthy body and a healthy mind for you. And if that means, meditating for a minute, or writing a gratitude list, or thinking of puppies, or watching cat videos, these are all things that can calm you down, which ultimately will help with your digestion. Because if anybody's had any digestion issues, it can be really debilitating and not fun. So, really important. And then also nausea, nausea, and then you're taking over the counter meds and you're taking the ginger, and, and you're not really um, addressing the issue. So I've had people masking for years, and it's like, we just got to uncover and figure out what's going on, you know? Um, yeah. Next slide, please. All right. The diet and the microbiome. So your diet shapes your microbiota, the environment, what bacteria is in my gut, and the composition and the function. And I want my composition to be really good. And there's going to be some not so good, but I want to win that battle, because I need to win that battle. I want to maintain intestinal homeostasis, right? That balance, that healthy state, because when I am in balance, I'm reducing my inflammation. I am protecting myself from disease. I'm protecting myself from, my immunity, so that when a virus does present or something presents, I can better support fighting it. Um, Food can also negatively impact homeostasis by influencing diversity, composition, function of the gut microbiome. Sometimes I'll have students say, "Oh, I had this meal and then I was like, whoa," and it's like, yeah, because you're not used to it. Your bacteria is like, wait, hold up, what's going on here? What's going on? Like, and it doesn't mean that it's not going to go back to normal. It just means that now that if you eat food that's not in your wheelhouse consistently, your body's going to have a response. And that's okay. It happens. Doesn't mean you shouldn't eat those foods. It just means that I need to be aware, and then I get to choose if I choose to include those in my diet or not. Totally up to you. But it's not a permanent change, but it's something that is more like an educational information. So you get to know and decide what foods you want to include and whatnot. And a nutritionally balanced diet is crucial for maintaining healthy gut microbiome. And the amount and type of intake impacts the growth of bacteria, positively or negatively affecting your gut health. So, often I'll get, should I be eating meat? Right? Should I have meat? Is meat bad? Da, 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 da. In terms of gut health position, uh, omnivore diet is negatively correlated to cardiometabolic health. So heart health, it's negative correlated. That can't be a surprise, right? Because we know that in other areas as well. However, if person who is an omnivore starts including more plant-based foods in their diet, and diversifying their protein, so maybe getting some more lean protein, they can actually change the microbiome and improve it. So doesn't mean you have to give up meat, but it can, if you're adding more plant-based protein, having more fruits and vegetables, it can really improve your gut health. Also, dairy is positively correlated with gut health, so that's great. And plant-based diet and vegan diets, they are, overall diet patterns are really good for your heart health. For your gut health. Doesn't mean you have to eat that way, but, maybe, meatless Monday, try to incorporate more diversity in your diet. Next slide. All right. So what should we be eating? Well, what feeds the bacteria? The dietary fibers. Dietary fiber. We talk about fiber. Fiber is important. Fiber is important. So it's the key ingredient that maintains the gut microbiota diversity. It's what feeds them. It's their fuel. It maintains the integrity of the mucosal barrier. So the mucosal barrier is that barrier around my digestive tract, right? And when it is not strong, things can pass through it and cause issues, cause negative consequences in health. It eliminates the risk of pathogenic infection. And it also aids in the maintenance of homeostasis. One of the questions I ask my students is I ask them about their poop, and they always laugh. And I'm like, you can tell a lot about somebody by their poop. More about their body than the person, personality-wise. But that's important. Like, it shouldn't be blown off. It's important because is it difficult? Is it every other day? Is it every day? Like that, if what you eat comes out, and what comes out is the dietary fiber, because we do not digest dietary fibers. There are two types, soluble and insoluble. Soluble fibers mix with water, insoluble do not. And the recommendations are for female identifying 25 grams a day and 38 grams a day. And this is how you can know what's in your food, how much dietary fiber. And as I said before, dietary fibers come from all plant-based foods. So there's no there's no fiber in meat or chicken or that kind of stuff. Next slide, please. So what are soluble fibers? Soluble fibers are whole grains, they're oats, or legumes, they're seeds and nuts, and fruits and vegetables. The types are, if you're interested, pectin, guar and inulin. And they dissolve in water, which allows them to slow the transit time of your GI tract. So we often recommend soluble fiber when someone is experiencing diarrhea because we want them to slow the release of glucose in their bloodstream. And so slowing the digestive tract allows that to happen. It mixes with water, forms a gel, and can get the cholesterol out of the body. It also slows the absorption of glucose and lipids, so it slows down your digestion. So instead of your blood sugar going like this, it slows it down, which means it increases your satiety. It keeps you full longer, regulates your blood sugar, as opposed to this, which, if your blood sugar and your digestion is going like this, what do you think your mental health is doing all day? Right? Potential protective properties against metabolic diseases, helps lower cholesterol, helps reduce diarrhea. Win, win, win. Next slide. All right. Insoluble fibers. Insoluble fibers are whole wheat flour, brown rice, nuts, beans, vegetables. The types are cellulose, hemicellulose, and fructans. They do not dissolve in water, and they speed up the GI transit time. So if they speed up the GI transit time, what would I use them for? Constipation. They bulk up your poop and get it out of the body. They soften your poop. It eases and prevents constipation. It supports a healthy microbiome. It gets fermented in the gut, and it generates those metabolites, those short-chain fatty acids that support metabolic homeostasis, immune regulation, cell growth, intestinal barrier function, ion transport. Huge, huge role in our body that really support a healthy body, which ultimately affects a healthy mind. Next slide. So what are prebiotics? I get this question a lot. What are prebiotics? They're just food. They are not alive, meaning they are not microorganisms. Microorganisms are probiotics, and those are live strains of bacteria. And these are just fiber. They're just food. They positively impact the composition and the activity of your gut health. And they contain no microbiomes, but they stimulate the growth of the probiotics in your gut because they feed them. They're their fuel. And their functional properties, they feed the microbiome. They stimulate probiotic growth. So when I eat them, I also feed the bacteria, but I also help it proliferate. I manage my gut health. So, I manage my pH, my acid-base balance in my gut. If that is not balanced, then there's real issues. So that's really important. It also bulks up your poop, gets it out of the body. It prevents pathogen gut colonization, so it supports the well-being of the gut. It reduces the host exposure to toxic substances and increases the production of short-chain fatty acids, which I've said many times, those metabolites that are really important for our overall health. And these are some sources um, of prebiotics. And I don't say, hey, you need to add prebiotics to your diet. I never say that. We talk about the fiber, you know. Um, and so very important to create a diet that's rich in all kinds of fiber as well as variety. Next slide, please. All right. What are probiotics? So probiotics are live strains of bacteria. They're microorganisms that benefit the host health. And they're important for a balanced gut health. And they support the growth of beneficial bacteria, and they reduce the development of disease. Now, these are possible health benefits. I am a full 100% believer in probiotics. They do amazing work. Probiotics, if you get them in like a supplement, supplements are not regulated by the FDA unless there's an issue. So for instance, if a supplement is on the shelf and there's some adverse effects, they get reported to the FDA. That's the only time FDA gets involved. So doesn't mean these things aren't true. It just means that they're not tested by the FDA. It actually puts the burden on the manufacturer to test the validity of the claims. So that's a good lesson in terms of supplements, period. That's a whole nother issue. Okay, so just be aware, supplements are not regulated unless there's an issue. Anyway, they can help reduce issues with irritable bowel syndrome and constipation, lowers your cholesterol, support your overall health, digestion and absorption, reduces inflammation, mental health, right? I don't know who doesn't have mental health stuff going on right now, right? So I'll just take all the probiotics I can get, right? Because I need to be calm and present at all times. And so it's really important to take care of my gut health because I don't want to be running to the bathroom or having issues, you know? And when we are selecting a supplement, we want to make sure that we're getting one that has at least 10 strains of bacteria. There are strains that have been studied. I do recommend a probiotic when I'm having students come in with issues related to IBS. And it's very important to make sure that it has strains of bacteria that have been studied to support what you're trying to improve. And also you want to make sure that the colony and forming units are high. Why is that important? Well, it's important because the probiotic has to get through my digestive system to my intestines. That means it has to pass the acidic environment of my stomach. So I have to have a lot. Not 20 billion are not going to survive, but most will. So that's why that number is really important. And there was one other thing I was going to say, and not all probiotics are the same. Just because you get a probiotic here at Trader Joe's doesn't mean it's going to do one you get on Amazon. They're all different. There's no standard of this is what a probiotic has. Okay, so you really want to be mindful of which ones you're buying if you choose to. But other than that, foods are great. Foods are great. And the other thing is, I say foods are great to include in your diet because we really want your nutrition from food. If you're having gut dysbiosis issues, you might need outside help. But overall, if you're feeling great and things are good, food is the best source. Next slide. Please. So how do I maintain a healthy microbiome? Balanced and varied diet. Eat all different kinds of food. There's not one food that has all the nutrition. I actually had a student yesterday who's for the last month, he's been eating kava twice a day. I was like, aren't you sick of it yet? It's just easy, right? He knows where to get it. He knows what he's got. Mixes it up just a little, right? We don't want to eat the same thing over and over and over again because we're going to get the same nutrition. We want to diversify. We want to get new sources. We want to try different things. We want to include prebiotics in our diet. Onion and garlic and bananas and leeks and asparagus. We want to include probiotics. Does it mean I have to eat it every day? No. Throw it in there. Find ways to add it. Maybe start cooking with some foods that you've never cooked with before. Incorporate colorful fruits and vegetables. We talk about eating the rainbow. Why do we do that? Well, because the color of fruits and vegetables indicates their nutritional content. So if I'm eating a yellow squash and a green pepper, they're not going to have the same nutrition, which is wonderful because I need diversity. Most of the time, we want to eat lean protein. clean chicken, fish, beans, nuts, seeds, tempeh, tofu. White meat chicken is better than dark meat chicken for your gut health. Does that mean that I shouldn't eat dark meat chicken? No, it doesn't mean you shouldn't eat dark meat chicken. It just means that, you know, maybe pick oh well, it's time. Oh my God, I always do this. And then polyphenols. Polyphenols are things that are just things in food. So include them in your diet. Lots of fruits and vegetables. And then focus on whole grain foods. Limit ultra processed foods. Uh, get your hydration. Get your hydration. Get your hydration. Very important. Stress management. You can't control your gut if you don't control your mind. And then move your body. Yes, I think I saw something. Exercise is very important. Very important for a healthy gut. And that, and then the next slide, I think is the, can we ask these? Do we have time?
Sure, we can go real quick and then we'll answer questions offline.
Okay. So I'm just curious if after this overdrawn presentation, if you're thinking maybe I should do some improvements. When I say, you should have fruits and vegetables at most meals, people are like, what? I had it at dinner. I'm like, okay, but let's get more stuff going. Let's try to incorporate more. Maybe we can have some fruit during the day. Maybe we can do other things. I so appreciate you participating. Thank you for being here. And if there's any questions, my email. And there you go.
Thank you so much, Michelle. As you answer the questions, we've documented all the questions in the chat. Michelle will send them to you to answer. We'll send them out in the post email along with the slides for everyone. So thank you.
Great, thanks.
So
Thanks for being here.
informative. Oh, thanks for doing this for us. We could go on and on. And then just real quick, everyone, our last session of the series is June 5th. And then we'll take a break for summer and hoping we'll be able to continue in the fall with more topics for all of you. So with that, we'll do a quick raffle and we'll let you all go. Let me stop sharing here. All right, Hannah. Okay, we are spinning the wheel with everyone who's entered the raffle, and I don't see the screen, Hannah.
Sorry, my computer's frozen. Give me one quick second.
Questions, so we'll make sure we get that to you, Michelle.
Great.
What we can do also is pick the winner offline so that if you have to go, you can go. You don't have to be present. Let's see if Hannah can get the wheel spinning. We're seeing your Google form.
Are you guys able to see the wheel?
No.
Oh. About now?
No. That's okay, Hannah. We'll do it offline. It's just in the interest of people's time. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll send an email out with the presentation, the link to the recording, Michelle's information, the answers to all your great questions, as well as the raffle winner. Thank you and see you all next month.